Hi, my interview was with Don Candell, who's my father. He was born in 1943 in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. He was the oldest of two children. He has a younger sister, Jane. Um, when I interviewed him because I'm sure there were parts of his life that I was unaware of that I wanted to know a little bit more about. So I'll start with the topic of love. In the topic of love, one of the first things I talked about with my dad was the fact that in his family, it was never overtly said, I love you. It was a very, I don't know about cold, but there was not a lot of open affection in their house. And he says that that really affected how he lived as an adult and getting into relationships. That was one of the major problems with the relationship with my mom. He wanted to get out of Eau Claire, and so instead of going to college, he joined the Air Force. He was stationed in Ohio where he met my mother, and they were married and then moved pretty quickly thereafter to his first station, which was in North Africa, and my mom stayed behind in Wisconsin. Then, when my mom was able to join him, he was stationed in Dover, Delaware, and they moved to Washington State. They moved to Europe. They lived in Germany and England, and then settled in Shreveport, where he was stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base. And at that point, he decided to go into the reserves and go back to school. He'd already gotten his bachelor's degree at the University of Maryland, and then he started at Centenary College and got his MBA, and then decided he wanted to go to law school. So he went to law school at LSU and worked part-time with his reserve status with the Air Force for 14 more years, was a judge advocate general, and also had a private practice. He felt that if he had it to do over again, he would have started his education sooner so that he would have been able to develop his career a little more. But he doesn't think that there's anything he really regrets about his experiences in the Air Force because he was able to travel a lot and do things that he had never thought he'd be able to do. As far as love, he wouldn't say that my mom was his first love, but that it was one of those things where they both kind of wanted to get out of where they were, and they ended up marrying, and they had three children, myself, my brother, and my sister. They divorced when I was in high school, and my dad met his current wife a couple years after that. They've been married for 21 years. And he's very happy. She balances him, he says. As far as obstacles to his education, one of the hardest things was having to go back being an older student. There was, he was concerned about being kind of out of place, being an older student at a campus in Louisiana. But he said it actually was a really good thing. He did his undergraduate completely by mail when he was stationed in Germany, so that was not as big of a deal. And he was able to then go into his graduate programs, having already sort of been the alternative student, doing the mail-based degree at University of Maryland. For his family and friends, he said he had a pretty good childhood. He lived in a neighborhood that all the kids ran around and they all had friends, and he had a younger sister and they got along pretty well. He, again, his parents were not overly affectionate with him, so he felt a little uncomfortable doing that as a grown person. He went through a lot where he finally came to the point where he could show his emotions, and he says it's made him a stronger person, being able to accept that there are things that he should share with others. He said that was a very hard lesson to learn. That was sort of at the breakdown of his marriage with my mom, was that you have to show that relationship. You can't just assume that everyone's going to say that they love you, or that they do, even if they don't say it. He has some very good friends that he feels very passionate about their relationship. He's had friends since law school. He's had friends since before law school that he still keeps in touch with. And they've shared a lot of things. They've shared families, and they've been through divorces and children and all those other things. And he said one of the hardest things he ever had to do was deal with my brother passing away when he was 25, that the loss of a child is something that is not expected, and he really figured out who his truly good friends were at that situation. And then just about life in general, he thinks that if he had this all to do over again, there might be some changes that he would make, but in general, that the life he has lived has given him the experiences that have continued to make his life the way it is. What I've learned from him, and from what I've learned asking him some of these questions, is that the experiences you have in life while you make them have immediate changes, but it's never too late to try something different. It's never too late to make a change. You can always adapt to what's happening in your life and make changes to make yourself happier.